Oh my goodness, God's vibes. We have somebody that I've just been feeling God stirring to get on this podcast for a hot number of months now, and it is happening, and I couldn't be more amped about it. Shelby, welcome to the God's Vibes podcast. How does it feel?
I feel like I'm going to explode with energy.
Yeah.
And that all comes from you.
Yeah, it could happen. It could happen. So tell the folks who you are. Give us a little intro into who is Shelby.
I am a mess, first off. That's who I am. Was a mess, I guess.
Like, let's be real and just start there, okay?
I am brutally honest. No.
Yeah.
I am a mother. I'm a person. I'm a human. I had my identity wrapped up in a job title for so long that I'm just learning how to be a daughter of Christ at this point. Like, I just want to know what he wants for me. So my identity now is solely in him. So
yeah,
that's who I am, is a blind faith walker. We'll call it that.
I love it. I love it. So tell us too a little bit about your God journey. I feel like this is one of the best things that we could share with people. So interesting. It's like one of the things that we feel like we can't share, but it is the thing that actually changes people's lives when you hear their testimonies of how they've grown with God. So can you share a little bit about what that's like? Like, were you raised in the church? Like, what has that journey been like?
Absolutely. So I was raised Southern Baptist, started off very Southern Baptist. And then we made a move to Texas, and my mom got involved in non-denominational churches, and she was a children's pastor for the majority of my childhood and growing up, especially teen years and all that stuff. Big leader in church whenever I was going as a teenager, very active, leading worship, doing all the stuff. Love to be the center of attention. That's my specialty. Yeah. And so anywhere that I could put myself in the spotlight at church was really more so what I did, instead of building a foundation with God. So when I ventured off on my own, got married, there was no God. There was nothing in my life. I mean, the concept was there. He was there. I was going to church on Sundays when I was supposed to, but I had not found him for myself yet.
Yeah.
And so what we talked about recently, our rebirth date, April 14th of this year. Like, he strangled me. He held me down in the best way possible. And just got a hold of my spirit, and I finally got introduced to him and his spirit and how ours can enmesh and be aligned, and how, I love the bamboo analogy, my bamboo shoots, like I can just feel when I'm aligned with him.
Give people context that don't know how epic this has been for you.
So there is months ago, in the very beginning, whenever I first found God Vibes, there was a reference that Juliana made to bamboo shoots, and that if your life, when it is flowing with God, should feel like reeds of bamboo, where you have a reed and everything's flowing flowing smoothly. Yeah. But when you're not in the flow with the Holy Spirit and the Father and the Son and all of that stuff, you feel your bamboo is kind of crunched down, and you feel tangled and enmeshed and just a mess. Yeah. And that analogy really stuck with me, because I was like, oh, that's what I feel like. Wait, hold on. I'm tangled up. I'm a mess. And
or even too, like when you picture bamboo, it's like, is my bamboo shoot hollow? Like, am I an channel for God to flow through, or am I full of all these other things? So since then, you've actually gone and bought a bamboo plant, which is amazing. You're like, just chilling here now. It's a great reminder.
Next to me.
Yeah, show and tell.
A couple of the reeds have died.
Yeah, those ones had to go. It's called pruning, right? Like
exactly. It pruned itself, and now I'm learning how to nurture it. It's great. I have no nurturing capabilities to begin with, so why not? Why not start with bamboo?
Yeah.
So the bamboo really struck me. Yeah. And one day, again, I listened to you in so many various forms. One question you asked was, what do you want to be said about you at your funeral, or something along those lines? And I just stopped dead in my tracks, because I was a great employee. I was a dedicated worker. At 32, I had built a career that most people would be very proud of, and it wasn't enough for me. And so when I woke up one day on a coaching call, it's just, I don't think I'm supposed to be doing this anymore. So
the best place to have that kind of revelation. You're going to have one. I hope it's on a coaching call. Oh my God.
Yeah, just basically understanding that I was not who God was calling me to be, even though I was successful in all of the worldly prospects of it. I have a beautiful family. It looks great from the outside looking in. I have all of the check marks that everyone should have by their mid-30s.
Yep.
And I was so discontent and so unhappy with everything that I just knew there had to be more.
So good. So good. So backing up a little bit. So you were on this journey and you realized that you didn't really know God. Like, you knew about God, you knew sort of like church or like formalities, but you didn't have a heart fully surrendered to him, or you didn't really know how. I love how you said it, how you can actually be one with him, how you can be aligned, and I say tracking with him in every way and in every affair, right? And how powerful that is when you're actually in this constant flow of God, right? Like, there is one, and it's like we're either aligned with it or we're not. So you're having these revelations, and is this when you also found the podcast? Like, tell me what happened there. Because you didn't like it in the beginning, from what I understand.
Oh, I love and adore you so much. You are such a special being on this earth, not just to me, but boy, did your voice irritate the crap out of me. It was probably February of this. What month are we in?
We're in June. Right? I'm like, what?
Only been 4 months. Are you sure?
Come on, let's go.
So I was searching podcasts because I literally felt like a floating brain. I didn't feel connected to my body. I knew that something mental health was up and that I needed to figure it out. And using the resources that I had, Google, I just searched mental health faith podcast, and 2 or 3 popped up. And every time I clicked on yours, it was a Godsmack. I mean, it literally was a lesson. Every single time I listened to it, I was getting humbled and taught something new about myself. And there was a lot of resistance there. Your voice was like nails on a chalkboard for quite a while. And I just knew, like, there was some intuition there to lean into that, and don't give in to just the fact that her voice irritates you, because her content's so good. And you move past that. I love your voice now. I listen to it everywhere.
You're like, I have it on surround sound on my TV. Like, I'm listening to audiobooks. Like, I listen to the
podcast, the audiobooks, the coaching calls.
You're like, the irony. What is happening?
I love it. It's so soothing to me now. But getting to you was quite an adventure in and of itself, and just ignoring the worldly or even just the enemy. The enemy just straight telling me not to listen to you. That I was like, no, that's a challenge. And I take on a challenge. And so,
and isn't that so true in like so many areas? I love just the simple trust that you had there. It was like, I know something is happening and that there are tools out there for me, and by faith, I'm going to go find them. Like, use Google as a tool, but I'm trusting that in this action of going to look for support, I'm going to be led to exactly what I need. And you are, but then it's like being kept from you. And how true is that? These good things that we know we're being led to, there's always an excuse. There's always a reason coming from the enemy to keep us from it. right? And so it's like, I love the approach that you took where it's like, well, I'm going harder then. Like, I'm going to keep like listening and see what's here. Cause clearly you don't want me to receive it, but I sense strongly that there's something more for me here. So I love that you
One,
pushed through that.
well, and I will tell you the other podcast that you were competing against in my head, I don't listen to it. Like it's just God was not in it. And that's the difference. Whenever you listen
Yeah.
to you, whenever you listen to your content, God is truly in it. He is truly guiding the words out of your mouth. And so that's kind of, and I do remember there was a desperate prayer that I prayed that I was just like, show me the one, show me the content that I need to have,
Yeah.
because I don't want to sit here and comb over 500 different podcasts to get the same 3 tips of blah, 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 blah. No,
Right.
I'm here for what God tells me and
Yeah.
not what these worldly coaches are telling me to do. It's kind of where I was.
Yeah.
And so,
And
do
what a
you have,
beautiful thing too. It's like I'm in a vulnerable position of recognizing that something is not right within me and I need to be fed and counseled and pointed in these directions to get the support that I need, right? So I'm humbling
exactly.
myself, right? And I'm being exalted, which is so powerful to see like how that process works. So tell me what's happening, right? Like now you are in this interesting world because like you're in two worlds now. It's right. Like you're in the world where it's like you're going to work every day, showing up at this career that you spent all these years to build, kind of going through the motions though, right? You're like, this is what I built. This is what I have to do. This is what I have to
Mhm.
show up and keep up, right? But something in me is telling me that I shouldn't do that. And there's still some things that I have to adjust. So tell me what happened there because you reached out to me from the
So,
podcast, which is a really beautiful thing.
yeah, so from the podcast, you had started promoting one-on-one calls,
Uh-huh.
and in true Shelby fashion, or one-on-one coaching, I rolled my eyes and I was like, "Ugh, no, I'm not doing that."
Yeah.
And God was like, "But you are." And I'm like, "No."
Yeah.
So I'm driving, and especially in my early walk, which I still feel like such a baby, but in those early days,
Yeah.
he had to speak to me in such strong ways that like I was shaking on my drive to work because
Yeah.
he had to convict me that hard to get me to send you an email to ask about one-on-one coaching, not even to commit. Not,
Yeah.
but I knew once I sent the email, that was my commitment. I knew
Yes.
once I sent the email, all the dominoes were going to fall into effect for me, and you and I were going to be coaching one-on-one together.
Yeah.
And so I think it was that email that just really was the ball that started everything rolling as far as my growth
Yeah.
in God came. And it's ironic because I emailed you to help me get my business together.
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed, but that didn't
I
work.
remember.
You
You're
were
like, oh,
supposed
wait a
to
minute.
help me make
Yeah.
millions.
You're like, I feel like this is a divine trick in some sort of way. Like I am getting my business together, but a very different kind of it.
One, and you know what? So much better.
Yeah. So break that down for people that don't know what happened. So it's like you are listening to the podcast. God is convicting you while you're driving to work that you need to reach out and you don't want to. There's this part of
Yep.
like your sort of unrenewed nature, let's call it that, that's like, nah, don't do that. But you actually listen and you send me an email. And then what starts happening while we're coaching together?
My entire internal being got switched. I mean, it was, I was living from what I thought was a very normal life. I thought, I mean, I had some trauma that, let's not downplay that. I have a lot of trauma.
Yeah.
And it took acknowledging that, getting through the mental health, getting through all of the therapy, because I mean, I have a trauma therapist and everything on the side. It's not just the content that I gain from your words, as God's words
Yeah.
from you, as wonderful as they are.
Yeah.
But it was tearing myself apart
Yes.
and realizing I knew nothing. And I think admitting that I knew nothing was the hardest part of it. And then learning that I had to go to the ultimate resource to relearn everything. Because I mean, when I say I knew nothing, I had no emotions. I had been numb my entire life.
Yeah.
And so when I got wrangled down and just, I don't want to say brought to rock bottom because I wasn't at rock bottom. He held me down until I listened, basically. It was, you're at your breaking point. You're going to have to listen to me now. We're going to do it my way, not your way. And the moment you commit. And that really is what's made a difference is, my F yeah or F no energy. It's either yes or it's a no now. And it's not a yes unless he and I have talked about it and we both agree it's a yes. Like there's just blind faith.
So good.
Mm-hmm.
So good. And I love this, right? Because you are on this path where God is being, I call it mercy. Do you know what I mean? Like he's being merciful. It's like you could continue down this path and you've seen that movie before. Like, how this goes. It doesn't get better. And like, that's not my will for you. Like I will meet you where you are, but I love you so much that I'm not going to let you stay there because I have all of this for you.
Exactly.
You just trust me with this unknown and all that I'm going to start bringing to you, it will unfold in a way that you can't think or imagine. Right? Like you can't even access that right now, but just trust me. And what you said is so powerful, right? It's like when you do make that commitment, you decide that unlocks the flow of grace for the mission, right? Like all those dominoes do start falling, right? Everything does start lining up for you. So rather than you trying to figure it out and make it all happen, like it all lines up for you and you end up just going through the steps. Like, yes, that takes massive amounts of vulnerability, courage, follow through, but you're not doing the heavy lifting. You're not doing all the figuring it out. Like you're just literally surrendering to, I'm committed and God's going to give me my next step and my next step and my next step. And he has. And it's literally been like that for you. It's been this day at a time, step at a time, moment at a time.
100. Yes. And I mean, if you remember back to the early coaching class.
You're like, maybe don't remember those? No.
4 months ago. I was a vice president of a political group. I was heavily involved in my company. I was everything that I thought I needed to be. And then one by one, he pruned my bamboo shoot. Nope, we're not dealing with that one. That one's off your plate now. I mean, one by one, he finally started taking off all of those hats that I wore that I found so much identity in. And was like, that one doesn't matter. Throw that one out the window. And this one as well. No, that one's not bringing me glory. Why are we even wasting your breath on this? And it just kept, I mean, I'm down now down to being a mother and a wife. And that is what God has called me to do. And I don't know the beginnings of that because I've always worked. I don't know how to manage a house. Laundry, no thank you. But now that I've stepped away from my very lucrative career, I can't afford a clean lady. You're looking at her. You're talking to her.
We're going to figure this out.
I no longer can just say, oh, well, we'll just hire someone to do that, or we'll get somebody else. I now have to be that mother, that wife, that God. I mean, there's one day I pulled out my Bible and I flipped to the back where it has scripture broken down based on context. And I looked up wife and husband, and I read the 6th chapter, and ironically, there were 6 for both of them. 6 verses, and it came up with a characteristic. Like each characteristic jumped out at me in those verses, and I listed them out, and I was like, this is not what I have been living up to as far as what God has called me to be for a wife and a mother. And then my husband and I had to have the same conversation, which was very hard. But hard conversations lead to growth. And oh my gosh, growth is amazing. I love growth.
I have to unpack or reinforce some of this because this is so huge, all these things that you're saying, right? So it's like you come thinking that we're going to work on your business, right? Like this is your intention, this is your heart. Like what were you thinking was going to happen? Because there is often this is true, where we go in with this expectation of what something's going to be and God's like, nah, it's better. You know what I mean? So tell me, like you're coming in expecting like, yeah, we're going to work on my business. Like talk to me about that for a second. And then I want to bridge this jump because you're saying it with such grace and ease right now, but like this jump between, it's like almost a backwards journey. There's some women that have been called to run their home and to minister there and feel really inspired to do that, passionate about that. There's no place they'd rather be, right? But then there's some that's like all they want to do is work and they have no clue how to operate at home. And we've got to talk about that because that's way deeper than you just let it on to me. So tell me first, though.
You know why I was laying it out there lightly like that? Because I didn't want to unpack it.
Well, girl, that's what we do here. We
I
unpack things,
know.
okay? We like freedom. Do you like freedom? Come on.
Love freedom, growth,
I know.
freedom.
Freedom. So,
Bring it.
okay, you think you're going to work on your business and you think it's going to look like what?
Oh, I mean, I had a whole plan. Within 30 days, 60 days, I was going to make $1 Million Club. And then this, and then that. And then by Q2, we were going to be in President's Club, and that was going to be great. And think of all the wonderful ways that I could serve God on the beach there. Like, what? What? And then just to, I mean, literally had this big plan that you and I are going to build this wonderful business and God's going to be at the center of it. And it was all self-serving. It was all because that's what I wanted. I wanted to get recognition for being a top producing loan officer. I wanted recognition for being politically involved. Why? Don't ask me. I mean, there's a lot of things that I was self-serving and trying to get those identities just to prove to myself that I could.
Yeah.
And when I
to feel, it sounds like to feel something, to feel significant, to feel important, to feel useful, to feel established, all these things that ultimately on the inside you didn't really own or believe.
Oh,
right. Like that
absolutely.
trauma is letting you think that you're weak, that you're not worthy. So let me just go prove that I am, and I have to now. I have to hold it all up. And that was what you were starting to see that you were doing, but you didn't know you were doing it. Right. Sometimes we're in things and we're like, what am I doing though? You know what I mean? Like I'm putting on this like, phenomenal show for the entire world, right? But like on the inside, like if I go home and I look at myself in the mirror, I'm like, what actually are you doing?
You don't recognize yourself. And I think that was the biggest struggle I had, is looking in the mirror and being like, but why am I doing any of this? Like, as a mortgage loan officer, you're always taught to find your why. My why was in worldly things. And I'm like, oh, pump the brakes.
Yeah.
I've tried it my way. I'm done. And I mean, it took the little baby step of sending the email, baby step of setting up a one-on-one call with you just to talk about the coaching, and then signing up for the coaching, and then transferring the money for the coaching. Like there are many opportunities that I had to revert back and say no. And say no, you know what? I'm gonna go back to my way because it was easier, because it's what I knew. Whenever I didn't know anything. How could I go back to what I knew if I had just admitted to myself that I knew nothing? And and then it's just baby steps. It's choosing to go with blind faith, one step at a time, one day at a time, one moment at a time, and just say yes to his. When you feel those inclinations, when you have those gut feelings, when you get butterflies about something, or pray for specific symbols. I am hugely symbolic whenever it comes to praying, because I don't want to trust my judgment, because I don't know if it's me or him. Most days I'm like, okay, God, I feel like this is what you're telling me, but I don't trust me anymore because me has lived in this world for far too long. So show me 2 blue jays. Show me a rainstorm right now. If I'm supposed to do this, then make the clouds pour. And some days I get my signs, and then some days I don't. And we just pin it for later. I'm like, okay, we'll come back to that one. Obviously, we're not ready for that yet.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad that you're taking it this direction. So much so, it's like what you just said, right? So I know myself enough to know that if left up to me, I'm not going to guide myself in a good direction, right?
Yes.
It's the verse that says, like, the heart is wicked and deceitful. Who can trust it? Who can know it? Right. So it's like, rather than me trying to do that, I'm just going to reach out to God. And like, if I do need that affirmation, those signs, that encouragement. Like I'm just looking for him now. Right. So I'm not looking to myself. I'm starting to look to him. So there's a moment where it's like you decide you're just going to trust him. Like you did commit. I think in your commitment, it was a decision that I'm going to trust God no matter what.
Yes.
Right. Like
And I think
that was the commitment.
that's
Right.
why the email made me so nervous, is
Yes.
because I knew to the core of my being, sending it was my commitment.
Yeah.
That was me saying, okay, God, I'm going all in.
Yeah.
And that is the scary part. Once we started coaching and everything else just kind of was a little agonizing and daunting, but fun. Like it was good
Like
to,
this is what it feels like. It always feels almost like terrifying and exciting at the same time. Like they're really
yes,
closely related in your body. And there was a day, right? Like we both remember this moment where you're unpacking that God is telling you to leave your business that you thought that you were going to come work on, right? Like, so you're like, what?
in the
You know what I mean?
middle
Like
of
you're trying to process what is happening. So the beautiful thing about this is there was trust that was being built in seeing God show up,
it. Mhm,
right? Like I'm
mhm.
sensing this, I'm getting a prompting, I'm feeling, goosebumps. I'm just feeling like I'm hearing God's voice. I'm getting a divine download. I'm having an inspiration and I'm trusting it and I'm seeing him show up. So now I know when I'm hearing this or when I'm receiving this information that this has to be God. I'm not quite sure what to do with it yet. Right. So bring
Exactly.
us to that moment because since that moment, like everything is completely changed in your life. Let me adjust for this moment. Yeah.
So that moment, I mean, it was, uh, I wish we could have recorded that one.
I know.
I wish I could go back and see my face, because
Yeah.
it truly was a God download. Like
Yeah.
it was, you were talking about something, you were encouraging me in some other capacity, in some other area. And I was like, we need to stop.
Yep.
I think God just called me to quit my career. And you were
Yep.
like, okay,
Yep.
well, let's unpack that right
Yes.
now.
Yes.
You were like, don't walk out and do it in this moment.
Yeah.
You need to pray.
Yeah. Like we
Do
don't
not,
go throwing ultimatums. We don't move like that. So hang on.
do not impulsively act on this,
Right.
please.
Right.
That was your first, like,
I'm like, I'm tracking.
I'm following, I'm
Right.
seeing, you're seeing, but
Yes. Yeah.
the brakes a little bit.
Yes.
And then I slept on it. And I mean, ever since I said the words out loud, I don't think I want to do this.
Yeah.
Like this is not my why. This is not my career. This is not,
Yes.
the moment I gave myself permission to not want to do it
There
anymore,
it is.
it was a tidal wave of
Yeah.
confirmations in the world. And so many different, I mean, I had prayed for so many months while we were working together
Yeah.
for God to open the doors, close the doors, do all the things. And he literally was doing that. I was just blind to it. I mean, by the time you and I had hit that point, my pipeline was at zero. I
Yeah.
had no files in my pipeline.
Yeah.
And it was a clean walk away. It was one of those,
Yeah.
okay, God, I now can see I've been praying for this.
Yeah.
You made it happen. I was just praying for a different outcome because I thought it was going a different way.
And you had
And
no clue that he would use you to do it,
no,
or let alone that you would be surrounded by all the support that you needed. Right, to
Mhm.
process it, to have the courage to do it, to walk it through all that was going to be required. Like he set all of it up to build you to that moment, which is a beautiful thing when it comes to trusting him or seeing his hands on everything. It's like, okay, I know it's going to be uncomfortable, it's going to be hard, but I know I'm fully supported, I'm being led, I'm being guided, and that it gets better. Like he never
Mhm.
leads me into less, he always leads me into greater.
Yeah, apps, 100.
Right.
So I have yet to see less since, I mean, I've seen less money. That we're still waiting on the financial intervention, but it's coming. I
Yeah.
have feelings. I have faith.
Yeah.
Doesn't help that my husband had just spent 8 months at home not working.
Yeah.
And then that was a hard conversation. That
Yeah.
was one where I had to humbly come to my husband and say, I think I want to quit my career.
Yeah.
And I have been the stable income provider for quite some time.
Yeah.
And I mean, I expected full backlash. I
Yeah.
expected, nope, no, no, we just got me a job. Like, let's get financially ahead. Instead, it was, I think that's a great idea. You should do it. I think you need to at least at minimum spend the summer home with the kids
Yeah.
and then let God show you what, like, just the confirmations from my boss. My boss was wonderful about it.
Yeah.
Left that job, I mean, in the most peaceful way possible.
Yeah.
And it's because he had planned it all out for me. He had
That's
answered my prayers even whenever I couldn't see it working.
it.
And it just took my almost verbal mental affirmation to say, I don't want to do this. That everything else was like, okay, and you're done.
Yeah.
And you're done.
What a moment, right? Like, so one, it's the fulfillment of a word, right? When the time is right, I, the Lord, shall make it happen. Like, you literally just take the steps, right?
Mhm.
Like, I've lined it all up for you, and there's grace for this. So, like, when I'm moving, make sure you're in step because this goes super smoothly when you're tracking with me, right? And I'm making it happen. You just partner. But I love the invitation that he gave you. It was almost like, what do you want though? Like,
Mhm.
I never have heard you even answer out loud to me, right? What it is that you want. It's like I keep hearing what you think you need to do, what you should or what you have to do, right?
Mhm.
None of that is what you're led to do or what you want to do. So just tell me what you want to do. And you're like, I just don't want to do this anymore, right? Like, I
You
want like
know,
permission to not have to do that. And he's like, great, because I've got it for you.
I've had this phrase in my head and it's been repeated. It's
Yeah.
funny. That's disappearing now, of course. It'll come back to me. Um you just kind of gotta
It's
go.
about what do you want?
Yeah.
Like God pausing you and sitting you because I just feel like this is a moment and maybe this will jog your memory too, right? But it's we go through life living in somebody else's story, right? And we
Mhm.
go through life living according to what we are expected to do, what we should do, what we have to do, and we can get so used to living that way that we lose our identity. We have no idea who we are, what we want. We don't know what we're gifted in. We don't know what we have to offer. We just know what we've been taught to do and what we should or have to do. So it's like when we get in this place where we sit down, like that is actually a terrifying moment to say what you want.
Well,
One,
and
to explore that, like maybe you don't even know, but you at least can own what it is that you don't want, right?
yep,
And
that
then start
exactly
exploring what it is that you do.
the phrase that disappeared for me was I don't know. And
Yeah.
it was because I mean, you say it, everyone says it. I don't know is not an answer.
Yep.
And I had to finally be comfortable in saying, I don't know. You tell me.
Yeah.
I don't know. You show me what my gifts are.
Yep.
Because I've been stifling so many gifts,
Yeah.
trying to be something that I wasn't.
Woof.
Well,
That's a whole preach right there.
is it?
Yeah, I've been stifling so many gifts trying to be somebody and do things that I'm not.
Yeah. I mean, 100% that I'm creative. You saw my flower arrangement, girl.
Yeah,
I'm creative.
yeah, you're creative.
I'm trying. I'm nurturing. I'm learning how to nurture my kids. Like I'm learning how to be there for my husband and keep my mouth shut when I'm supposed to keep it shut. Maybe.
Let's make this real for folks too to understand like how epic this is because we can joke about it, and laugh about it, and celebrate it. But for
Yes.
people that don't understand, right? So like now you have this moment where you are just epically radically different. Like you can never go back from this
Mhm.
moment where it's like, wow, like
I switched
God
flip.
put desires in my heart and those aren't bad. And I'm allowed to want what I want. Like I have space
Yes.
now to even discover what that is
Like I
entirely
don't
and
know.
explore that and start
Mhm.
being a version of myself that I didn't know was possible. Right. So you started to unpack and what you say beautifully and remember really that home is your first ministry, but this was actually a really hard stretch for you because home was what you ran from, right?
100.
You had every reason, like you didn't have really a home. So you had every reason to not think that you were capable of creating one, that you could nurture one, that you could be in one. So even when you come home now, you're no longer, doing all of these things that were taking up all your time, right?
There's no more
And
distractions.
distracting you to some degree of like
Yeah.
what the bigger issues were. Now you're at home, you're like, what does one do when one is at home? Right? Like that was a
You
really
remember, it
scary
was
thing.
terrifying. It still
Yes.
is terrifying. I
Yes.
would be lying if I didn't say every day. Well, okay, it's a little less terrifying this week. I feel like this week I do have my stuff a little together.
Yeah.
But I mean, every week, and that was a month ago, 2 months ago, every week it has been a struggle, an uphill battle to learn how to fold laundry. I know how to fold laundry, but how to remember to keep up with laundry. My husband did so much of that. And it's like, that is not his calling. That's my calling right now in this season. That's my calling. Now, when I was working, it was nice that he carried the brunt of that. It was a huge relief for me. But now it's time for me to step up in the things that God called me to do. And hiring a cleaning lady is not one of those for me in this season. So I gotta do the
Well, and
hard.
a lot of those things, and you can put words to this, but it was like, okay, what do you do when you're at home? Like home was never something that I saw. It was never something that I knew how to operate in. I just saw it didn't work. So I never wanted to be in it. Now I'm terrified because I don't think that I have what it takes. Right. So it's like I need a schedule or structure. Like I literally don't know
Yes.
what to do once we wake up. Like, what do we do? Or it's like, how do I actually care for this home and steward it well and like really make it a home and something that I like. So something as simple as like making flower arrangements, you're like, here we go. Like, this space. This is great, right? Like, or like playing worship music and enjoying being in your home and making that
Cleaning.
a
Yes.
safe space versus a scary place. Or starting to do that work, which you mentioned earlier, of like, okay, I never actually outlined what it means to be a wife. Like maybe I need to redefine what that looks like so I can start being that. Or how can I be a mom? Like I feel like I had the expectations or I had maybe a bad influence of what that looked like. But how do I start being the influence that I know is required for these kids? Like I am their mom on purpose. Like
Yes.
I am their mom. So how
Yes.
can I really train them up and really be somebody that's fully present because I'm realizing that I wasn't present? Or how can I have have these things cared for so that when people come home they have a safe space? Like I can
Mhm.
start creating that. This was never that, but I can make it that. And I feel like this is epic. And it sounds so
Yes.
simple. It's like, what? You just get to stay at home now. What's your problem?
No,
Right?
no,
On the
no.
outside, it can sound so silly. But like
Mm.
this is epic work to somebody that has never had that before. It has no clue how to create it.
It 100%, and it especially it doesn't come naturally. Like that's one of
Right.
those things that people really have to understand and drive home.
Yeah.
There are women, there are mothers,
Yeah.
there are people
Yeah.
that these things that the world expects of us, we're supposed to do naturally, but we don't do them naturally. We don't have that cleaning urge. I could easily be a couch potato for the rest of my life
Yeah.
and not care about the neglect that's going on in my house. But at the same time, that's not what my higher calling is. I have children I'm responsible for. I have a husband. I have people that I have to nurture and love. And I got to start at the home base. If I can't do it at the home base, I can't do it in the world. So why not begin where God calls me to immediately, the house?
Yeah. And he
Mhm.
started with you literally, like you as a house,
Yes.
right?
Oh,
Like
my kids
you
were
as
in
a
school
person.
still. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. And then everything flows out of that. So it's so powerful that you actually have this metaphor of a house too, that you're like how to
Yeah.
really like cultivate and nurture because you're doing that with yourself as well. So it's really powerful when you can see it in
Hmm.
those different dimensions, right?
Yes. Yes.
So good. Okay, so tell me, we've been coaching and then you get into the God's Vibes Mastermind. So tell me what's been happening as you
Oh, I
decided to go
love
for
those
even deeper
women.
content.
I love those women. Oh,
They're so good.
so good. The mastermind. Where to, if you could imagine, and I know it might seem different for you because you created all the content.
Uh-huh.
But if you imagine someone turning on a fire hose and then you're just walking up and getting a drop of it,
Yeah.
that little drop is going to bring so much value to you.
Yeah.
There's I can't even begin to explain the amount of content that is there.
Yeah.
But it is, the world can't even put a value on the information in there. And I wholeheartedly believe that. There is, well, and if you think about it, whenever you're tuned in with God and you're honing in on your coaching, God has a specific message for each person.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you want to hear what God's specific message is in those coachings? Like in the rule and reign, in all of the different things that I'm reading, God has a specific message for me in that. He has a message for everybody in that. Don't you want to know your message? Like, I think that's what keeps me driving is, okay, what's my next Easter egg? Like, what are we going to uncover next?
Yeah. It's like treasure hunting.
Yes, it's a scavenger hunt, a personal internal scavenger hunt to find the next area of growth. And then and it's so ironic because you feel like God put the girls in your mastermind together for a reason,
Oh,
because
yeah.
there are so many different phases of life,
Yeah.
but we're all walking the same walk.
Yeah.
And there is so much that we shouldn't have in common because we don't know each other from Adam until we start.
Yeah.
And then there's so many lives that are parallel to ours. It's like you kind of just see God put all of you together. So I would encourage, if anyone wants to join a mastermind, if they have that little pull, if anything is just telling them, do it. Yes, do it, because it will be worth it tenfold. I mean, you won't even notice the cost when it is all said and done, because you are living and breathing a different life. And I'm coming from a place where, like I said, I'm still waiting for that financial, whatever. I'm still waiting for how God's going to show me how I'm going to go through that. But I don't even care. Take my money. Take it all, because the content is worth it. And you didn't even pay me to say this, but
well, and for folks too, right, that don't know what the mastermind is, the God Vibes Mastermind is a mastermind that's 3 months long, but you actually get access to it for an entire year. And the community that you get to be a part of, I would say it's divinely curated. Like, you couldn't even know how and who God is going to bring together for the mastermind, but he's crossing countries, he's crossing states, he's crossing, any boundaries the world, any boundaries that we would create as humans, and bringing people together that want to grow with him at the center of everything, whether that's in your business, whether that's in your relationships, whether that's with yourself, whatever. And that normally could be a really scary journey. So the journey is like really starting to activate your identity, starting to learn how to partner with him, starting to grow in your authority, right? In your influence, and then expanding and multiplying that. And that takes time to walk out. And when you don't have people walking that out with you and seeing them in it with you, it is so easy to give up on yourself and bail out of the mission. Like, you have, to your point, even with coaching, every opportunity, multiple opportunities to go back. Right? And go circle the mountain some more. But when you are like literally in a community of people that are showing up and that are working on this content, and God is revealing different aspects to each person in a different way, you are getting breakthroughs every day, every week. And like, you're growing together. Now you text each other and like have a whole community, and there's so many like bonuses and ongoing trainings that you get, so you just get to keep growing. And it's like this beautiful thing that when you think you're ready for more, God delivers like a new topic, because you get this master class, right? So every month you get access to a class where you get new content. So just describe what that has been like for you to be blind on a journey, but then have equipping and training to feel so okay that you don't even care how the details work out. You just know that they're going to. Like, that is amazing to get to that place. Some people never get there.
I think it's just a knowing, but
Yeah.
To give everyone a little nugget, we've been doing, what month are we on now? Are we on month 3?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so we're on month 3.
And
Feels
we
like,
have another round launching July 10th. So you'll get to start
oh,
all over again. So basically, when you're in the mastermind, it's 3 months long, but you get to go through it 4 times and just keep
yes.
deepening and deepening and deepening in the content. Yeah.
So this is my first go round in the mastermind.
Yep.
And I have watched maybe 3 videos from start to finish.
Mm-hmm.
How many videos are there on there, Leslie?
Yeah.
Leslie. No, my mother-in-law's
Lessons. There
calling me.
are a lot.
Julia. Yeah,
there's
there.
there's over 65 different videos and trainings, and you get the whole workbook of all of that to constantly be going through. So yeah.
Yeah, I barely skimmed the surface. We'll
Yeah.
put it that way.
Yeah.
And every single time I have watched or gone to the table of contents and just looked around at what I wanted, it kind of, I didn't follow it day by day. I followed it season by season. Whatever I was feeling on my inside, I looked for the topic that was on that, and then I clicked and watched it. Now, I do fully intend on going back and starting up from start to finish, but there was just desperate times where I was like, God, I need help in this area. I know you're going to give me that content.
Yeah.
If I click on a title that tells me that content.
Yes.
So it's like dealing with, relationships, anything like that. I would just, when I had some moment, when I had some time, folding laundry, because we all know I hate doing that. Do something fun.
Like, I have to say that again. The laundry is not my friend.
Somebody come fold the
laundry. We're learning. It's fine.
But I mean, yeah.
And you do actually fold laundry on the mastermind call.
I do.
Great.
Thursdays are my laundry day now.
Oh my God. But I love this as a point, right? So there's a saying that's circulating in this mastermind that you can't get behind.
Correct.
That's totally true. Like, this is a mastermind that you can go through and just take it all the way through 4 times. You can jump around, but it's all relevant and it's all necessary. And the point is that you're digesting and integrating exactly what is real and relevant for you now so that you can keep building on that. And everybody is coming at a different place. Some people are really launching into their influence area, or some people are really working on identity, or some people are really in relationship, right? So it's relevant and real to whoever is in there, and they can keep being encouraged by anything that's in there. So I love that you said that. There's no getting behind. It's just treasure hunting with God on whatever he really wants to really unpack with you.
Yeah, I've just I think that's where my process has been different from what I've heard, is that I hear of, and even in comparison, before I did God, any coaching that I did, I've done professional coaching.
Yep.
You would tear that stuff apart. You would read through it, scour it, try and figure it out, but it just wouldn't click.
Yeah.
And now it's like, okay, well, I'm not going to tear and scour through all of this. I'm going to search myself and see what he's telling me I need to work on, because there's a lot of content on there and it's fantastic, but not all of it's what I need in this moment. When in this moment, I need to learn how to set boundaries. I need to learn how to be more dependent. I'm so excited. I am working on my prophetic gifts right now. I'm praying for them. I'm doing all the things. So there's just stuff like that might not interest somebody in that moment. Skip these videos, come back to it. You don't have to follow, and on the list checker, you don't have to check the list.
Yeah.
You don't have to. Just
it's breaking you out of all of these rules of religion and just trusting that, like, whatever you're there for. I always say, like, just get what you came for and know and expect that God has so much more than you can imagine, right? Like, you couldn't even have gone into that and known what you could have received. You had no clue, right? But when you get in there, you're like, that's God and that's God. And now he's showing me this. And it's such a beautiful thing to see, because it all feels very prophetic. It's like he knows exactly where people are and exactly what they need to hear when they're ready to hear it and when they're willing to do what's required when they have access to that information. Because that's the thing. It's like, if you have to spend 3 days, even a week on one video and one topic, like, work it.
Yes.
Because the breakthrough connected to that is what you came for. Like, that is worth it, like that. And that is sometimes the process.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But if you miss that that's what God was doing, then you could feel behind. But that's not true at all. And it's like you still have so much time. You still have a whole year to unpack and process all this. So that's a lot.
And
And
I
a lot
don't
of
think
programs kick
there's
you out
been,
immediately. It's like 3 months by, but like you get to be in there and get coached this entire time.
well, and there hasn't been a single that I can recall mastermind where we talked about whatever the topic was for that week.
Yeah.
Like it is
Yeah.
life lessons and friends. Like it's just all of us get together.
Yeah.
Somebody has one issue that gets brought to the table,
Yeah.
and somehow that issue gets worked out and we all get taught a life lesson in the process.
Yeah.
And it is so crazy to see various walks. I mean, everybody.
And it's wild because it is coming from the content or it's reinforcing what's in the it's very bizarre how it happens, but that's so true because the
Yeah.
content is dripped to you, so to speak. Like it starts opening week by week, but you're
Mhm.
not obligated to follow that. Like it's just how the content is delivered so that you can digest it for the people that
Yeah.
do need that structure. But you can talk about any topic that's in there or go in on life, and then we're teaching you how to apply what is in there to your life, which is the main thing, right? Like if you are not
Exactly.
living it, why even be exposed to it?
Why
Right?
waste your
That's
time?
why it's so
Why
powerful.
waste your time?
Yeah.
Time, money, you can always get back. Time, you can never get back.
Yeah.
Why waste your time
Yeah.
doing the work if you're not going to apply it in the day-to-day basis, if you're not
Yes.
going to apply it in your life? And I think
Yeah.
that's where the change comes from, the
Yeah.
shift, the difference in everything.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then share some of, so you were talking this morning even about some of the shifts. One from shifting from fear driven to faith driven. And then also
Yeah.
these powerful shifts just from being in the mastermind in that period of time that you're seeing happening in your family, which is insane. So you have to like speak to both of these things. I'm like, stop being casual and polite because these are huge.
Sorry, I carry it every day, so it just feels normal. Like this is
It's not normal.
okay, okay, I'll believe you. I'll believe you. I'll believe you.
Yeah.
I mean, my whole house has made a drastic shift
Yes.
from everyone walking on eggshells to there it was some narcissism. There was some issues that generational curses
Yeah.
that we have been beating down. And I mean, it is not fair to play it lightly because it has been work. It has been
Yes.
a lot of prayerfulness. My husband and I both. I mean, I can't take credit for it because I tried to do it. I tried to fix him by myself and that didn't work. So I had to get the big guy involved.
Yeah.
Finally, once I was able to almost give my husband's give him up to God. Once I finally was able to
Yeah.
surrender him and his issues to God and not try and fix him, it was like a switch flipped. And marriage has a very different look now. It's a happy place when we come home. It's a joyful place. It's
Yeah.
calm. There's peace where there never was before.
Yeah.
As somebody who struggles with setting boundaries and also being emotionally numb for 30 plus years,
Yeah.
as you start to feel emotions, every single emotion has a very heavy weight to it.
Yes.
And the negative emotions carry the most weight.
Yes.
So all of that stuff was brewing and, causing issues. And I had kind of a come to Jesus with myself, with Jesus. And
Yeah.
he said, I basically was having issues juggling everything. And he said, but once you stop juggling all the balls for everybody, they'll pick up the balls that they were supposed to carry.
That's it.
And I was like, okay, I'll take my little things I'm supposed to do and I'll focus on that and I'll do it to the best that I can and I'll pray and I'll just be faithful and loyal and do all my things. And it has been spot on. I mean, I stopped worrying about my husband. I told him, this is all you. Like, you have to get right. We both brought baggage. We've been married for 10 years. We have baggage that was never even resolved before
Yeah.
we said I do.
Yeah.
So it's just baggage.
Well, I love the other part that you had shared too, where it's God has been giving you the structure that you need. It's like he's filling all of your time now with these encounters. Like he's using you to
Yes.
minister to people, to send you places. And you're like, here you thought you were going to be sitting at home and bored. He's
Yes.
sending you on a mission every day. So speak to that a little bit, because that has been wild also, but so powerful to see. And what I love is that you are hearing God and being led by God because you're in a space to hear him.
Yes. I
Right.
have taken all of every distractor that I physically could. I mean,
Yes.
my commitments, I just refocused my commitments and made them just to myself. I
Yes.
no longer commit to an external force because in this season, God called me to stay home for growth. So I have to grow.
Yeah.
And I mean, so much is running errands, going to the grocery store. There's always been somebody that's been put in my path that I
Share
need.
the smoothie example.
Oh, my Smoothie King girl. I still haven't heard from her. I
Yeah.
still haven't heard from Shelby, but she's gonna reach out.
It's coming. Yeah.
So one day I was running errands and went to Smoothie King, and the girl that was handing me my smoothie while they were making it, like she just awkwardly stands in my window, not my window, but like her window, staring
Yeah.
at me. And
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, what do I do? Like, oh, in this moment, I
It's
really
fun.
didn't want to talk to anybody. I just wanted to go to Home Goods and be left alone. So I
Simple.
feel her sitting there, and I'm like, okay, God, I'll talk to her. Like I just knew there was a nudge to talk to her there.
Yeah.
And in a matter of, I mean, in the time that they are making smoothies, I find out that she is graduating high school, getting baptized that weekend, like going to school for nursing, is a brilliant, brilliant young lady. And we share the same name. But we didn't find that out in the moment. In the moment, we just shared a quick conversation, and God put it on. I got my smoothie and I left. I went to Home Goods, and God was like, "No, you're
Trying to
going."
stay to your mission, right? So you have this inner conflict happening where God's
Yes.
like, talk to this human. I've queued it up for you. Like, start speaking to her. Like, engage. And you're like, nah, I want my smoothie and I want to go to Home Goods. Like, I'm good. So you at least obeyed that part. But then what's happening is what?
Okay. So I stopped and talked to her, and then she gives me my smoothie, and our conversation truly was over. Like we both said goodbye. We were like, I hope, wish you the best. Like blah.
Yeah.
And I'm in my car, and I'm like, no, I'm going back to give her one of my business cards. And then that seed just started planting in my head. Keep in mind, this is the business that I just closed down the week prior.
Right.
So there's no reason for me to give her a business card other than the fact that it has my name and phone number on it.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, I am in Home Goods and I am resisting. I'm like, I'm not going back. I'm not going. I don't want to go and tell this girl, hey, God told me I need to come give you my phone number.
Yeah.
Like that just seems so off the wall. And I pulled up into Smoothie King on my way home. I was like, I'm not going through the drive-through. I'm getting out and I'm walking in.
Yes.
I got out and I walked in. Like that was another decision I had to make was, okay, I have to get out and walk in. I have to go and talk to her. So
Yeah.
I walked in the door, and I asked, I was like, I couldn't even really give you descriptions, but I just talked to somebody about 30 minutes ago in the drive-through. Is she still here? Is she available? She
Yeah.
comes out of the back and somebody yells, Shelby. And I'm like, okay, okay. And so that was my God wink in that moment. I pray for a lot of God winks just to prove to me, he doesn't need to prove anything to me, but just to show me that I am on the mission, whatever it is, whatever my mission is, show me I'm on the mission. And Shelby comes from the back, and I'm like, hey, this is going to be very uncomfortable for us both, but I just felt really connected to you. I wanted to give you my business card. I'm not in business anymore. Don't call it for a mortgage, but do call me if you ever need me. Save the business card. You'll know, and I'll answer when you call, and I'll know that it's you. Just say it's Shelby from Smoothie King, whatever. I'll know. That'll be our key.
Yeah.
And I mean, I haven't heard from her yet,
Yeah.
but maybe she's listening. If you're listening, Shelby, I do remember you. But
And in that moment, right, is when she's sharing that she's
yeah.
gonna get baptized and all
No,
that.
prior to all that,
Okay.
prior to all that, whenever she was handing me my smoothie,
Okay.
she just started opening up deeply personal things. And I was like, good for you. You don't know me. I am so like just blown away that she's oh, I think what started her saying is I told her that I had just stepped away from my career, so be grateful that you have a job, something like that. She was like, I'm
Yeah.
just grateful to be at work. And I was like, yeah, I just stepped away from mine. So
Yeah.
that is a good thing to be grateful for. And then
Yeah.
I told her it was a God thing. Like I just said it in passing because God's told me there are certain people I'm supposed to tell it to and certain people that I'm supposed to just keep that information to myself because I'm keeping my critics low right now.
Yeah.
And so I told her, I was like, yeah, it was a God thing. And she was like, speaking of a God thing, I'm getting baptized this weekend. And
Oh,
that's, the conversation just kept flowing from there and her going to nursing school and all these wonderful things. But she's just, I might go to the King today. Maybe I need to go check on Shelby.
yeah.
Maybe that's what all this was
I was
for.
like, go say hi to Shelby. Well, what I love that I'm hearing you say is that you are willing to be inconvenienced and not everybody is. And I have found to be true, and I know you have now. It's like every time you do step out, it not only blesses that other person, but you get blessed.
Oh, yes.
But there
And
always is somebody connected to that obedience, right? Like, oh,
mhm,
is that just a really weird and uncomfortable thing? Like, are you like willing to be inconvenienced or are you just going to run your own agenda? Because there's so much that's connected to that.
uh-huh.
What are you going to do in those moments? That's what counts, right? So it's like, are you going to let yourself just follow through instantly and get better and better at that as those moments come up in the grocery store when you're running an errand? That's usually when they are. Like it's when you have
Yes.
your own plan and God's like, hey, do this thing. You're like,
I mean, there's a ugh, like there's it's getting better. I will
yeah,
say the resistance is definitely it was an issue in the
yeah,
beginning. It has gotten easier with time
yeah,
to where it's more of it's a mission. Like it's a challenge. It's a how can I bless this person's day?
yeah.
How am I going to be what God the light, be the light that God needs me to be today to this person? What is it that I'm supposed to do? And then you even take that moment to self-reflect and think how hmm, how you can change from that encounter as well.
Yeah.
Is how you can walk away being a better person, not just giving to them, but receiving from them because God has something he wants to share with you through them as well. You just kind of got to shut your mouth and listen and show up.
So good. And that likely is why you're so inspired by the prophetic now too, and get to dive into that content, right?
Yes,
Because that's all about hearing from God and being able to encourage and build up those he sends you to, right? And
absolutely.
be a voice of
It
what he is saying for them and being able to affirm them in their identity or really foretell these beautiful things that he's leading them into when they're totally defeated. Like we don't know how it's going to work, but you get to plant these seeds
Mhm.
from him in a totally different way when you're willing to be inconvenienced and be his hands and feet, right? Like the prophetic is all about hearing God. My sheep know
Mhm.
my voice, right? And other voices they won't follow. But as you're seeing, there's so many ways to receive from God.
Yes.
Just like you have physical senses, you have so many ways to receive from him spiritually speaking. And he gives you words of encouragement and things that you can say to build up other people. And it's always when they need to hear it most. And these
And they'll
seeds
tell you.
plant change their lives. Like it is wild.
I
It's
have had some people that have said those are the exact words that I needed to hear in this moment. Like there have been so many affirmations, and then there have been people that have come back to me later and said, I wasn't in a place to hear that right then, but your words did resonate. I did hear what you had to say.
so good.
And that's when I'm like, oh, it wasn't me. Like I was prayerful, like, they're God's working in their heart just as much as he's working in mine.
Yeah.
And so he has the capability. Everyone just needs to
Yeah.
let him in, let him do some mechanics in there.
And look at that beautiful thing, right? From what you
Yeah,
shared even in the beginning, like I couldn't even have these encounters with God. Now I'm having them all the time to the point where I actually know that I can release them and I do when given the opportunity. But it's because
absolutely.
I've experienced it and I have that relationship in that context now that I
Yep.
know this is God and I know to follow through because I know what it's like to be on the receiving end of that.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So powerful. Like literally your story has gone from my will, my way, following this agenda to what are we doing, God?
What are we
Right?
doing?
Like,
What's on
what
our
on
agenda
earth?
today?
Yes.
What's on our agenda today, big guy? I mean, I have a name for him. It's big guy. And I mean, I'm like, what's on our agenda today, big guy? I love sitting in the sun. I love sitting in the grass and just being in nature and just sitting there and being still.
Yeah.
I mean, you might not have an encounter, you might, but
Yeah.
just be available, take all of the distractors away. And that's whenever you'll see. I mean, taking a walk yesterday, I saw two cardinals to confirm something for me. And I literally had just had the thought, if this is your will, can I please see two cardinals? And then they were there. Like, are you kidding me?
Like, what else?
So,
Yeah.
yeah, like,
What else
don't
can I do for you?
don't be shy. If he's giving you an intuition to ask for a sign, it's because he's prepared to show you that sign.
Yeah.
So what is on your heart? That's truly what it is don't pray for specifics of what's on your heart because he's already showing you that sign.
Yeah.
Is how I see them.
And it's childlike wonder too, right? Unless
Oh,
you
absolutely.
like a child, you can't enter the kingdom. So it's like, just like, Dad, will you show me this thing? Can we go do this thing? You know what I mean? Like, it very much is that simple and that childlike. And then when you do that, he's like delighting in your faith. He's delighting in this wonder and this awe of him that you have, and this just expectancy that he is going to show up, and he outdoes it every time.
Every time.
Yeah.
Every time. Yes. It has been a journey, to say the least. It's been a roller coaster. It's been days of nothing but tears and then days of nothing but happy tears. Like you go with the ebb and the flow, but you always have him. And that's where the difference is from April 14th.
Yeah.
Prior.
Yeah. Your rebirth date.
My rebirth date. Yeah.
Well, I love this thought. So I want to hear your answer to this, but let's say that this is, the end of your life many, many years from now, right?
Yes.
And you get to impart wisdom to somebody that will change their life. So not anything that we build in the world, like none of these homes and these castles and all these things that we build for ourselves, but you can actually just impart wisdom, and that's it. What would be the wisdom that you would impart to somebody?
Find out who you are in God and be the best that you can be to that ability.
Yeah.
Find out, be the best you that you can be, but find out who you are. Find out who the true you is, your real identity, not the identity that the world has forced on you.
Yeah. So good. I love. And then
That's
you're going to be in the mastermind for a while, right? Like a whole year.
Yes.
You got this next round coming
And
up on
here's
July 10th. So what do you have for somebody that is curious about the mastermind, maybe wants to apply, maybe they're, just waiting for the opportunity to sign up? Like what wisdom do you have for those folks that potentially get to come hang with you?
Well, I host a small group on Fridays, and it is Friday Fire.
Yes.
Come join us on Fridays at 9 a.m. We actually started Rule and Reign, the Faith Walker manual. We are going self-paced, so it quite literally is just start reading it. Join us as you want to, as you can. Just want to get that fire on God fire for God every Friday.
Yeah. So Encourage Co.
Yes, I'm encouraged.
Small group, right? Every Friday at 9 a.m. Central. So you can come hang with her. And these are we know the power of small groups. We know lives that are changed in them. We know that God leads people to these and the importance of having them. So you just showed up and we're feeling the stirring in your heart to lead Friday Fire, right? Which is really an activating group to help people really have what you are seeing you are anointed and gifted in, is having these encounters with God and following through on them, and how to really grow in your relationship with God. So that happens every Friday, 9 a.m. Central Time.
Grab your coffee,
hang with her.
Let's go.
Yeah. Come as you are. You don't have to look cute or any of that. Just come as you are.
No. Don't come looking cute. You'll offend all of us. Don't do that.
Come as the best that you are, whatever that looks like.
Yes, ma'am. And Courage Co, get plugged in. do the mastermind. If anyone really is on the fence, let this be your sign. You need to do it. You won't have any regrets. I assure you of that. I can't think of a single person that has said, wish I didn't do that.
Yeah.
No, work on yourself. You deserve it. Um, we put ourselves on the back burner. We
Yeah.
put our relationship with God on the back burner. We put our mental health on the back burner because we think we're supposed to fill everyone else's cups. Let this fill your cup. Let this be what you use to get that fulfillment throughout your week, throughout your month, however often you need to get it. Let this be that thing that fills your cup, so that you're not filling it with worldly things, so that you're not, if your cup's empty, you're gonna fill it with something.
Yeah.
So find something that actually replenishes you and grows you, instead of Netflix binge watching, which I am the queen of. I cannot judge anyone for that, but that is a waste of time. There's
Yeah.
no growth in
There's
that.
no return on investment.
I know. I'm like, side eyeing my TV right now. I'm gonna break you. You don't bring me anything except for Juliana's face during my coaching class.
Well, I loved you get empowered, right? Like that's the other thing. Like I'm thinking of the day when all of you are on the line and you're like, God is straight speaking to us right now. We feel like we're in timeout. Like,
That was I wish I could remember the question that I asked. Like basically it was
oh my gosh.
how
You're
do
like,
we
how do
apply
you
the
apply the
word?
word to your life or something?
Yes,
I
but
believe.
because you were giving us such good content, but I was like, but how do we do that?
Yeah.
And then I asked the one question, and then it was like, we all got a lesson.
Yeah.
It was so powerful, though. It was so encouraging, so good. And I mean, it was humbling. It's not a bad thing to be humbled. It is a great thing, it's a powerful thing to be humbled. And I think people often misplace powerless moves for powerful moves. And you got to make those powerful choices if you want to be powerful for the kingdom.
Gotta know the difference, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Sometimes we don't know, right? We literally don't know. Like we thought that this is what you do to be strong, to be powerful, but then you actually recognize that you learn to be weak, wounded, and resentful. And nobody is powerful from that place or traumatized, right? Which how
Yes.
can you actually create on this world what you are purposed and designed to create, let alone release the legacy that's on your life when you are in that position?
100%. And I mean, I still have so much growth, but
Yeah.
I do feel like at this point, my bamboo shoots are straight. I
Yeah.
am feeling more aligned and more at peace. Something as crazy as my schedule. Now I don't really have a schedule, but when I'm supposed to be somewhere, time just works for me now. Like time is always working in my favor when it used to work against me.
Yeah.
And so those are the kind of things that I'm seeing, not only in internal changes. I'm seeing life is becoming more manageable in such a small thing as I don't show up late anywhere anymore. Whether that's, God making sure I get there on time by turning the light green, or if it's just being able to sit down and think and focus and
Yeah.
be a human being,
Yeah.
because we're all human.
Yeah.
We're not God, we're not Jesus, but we're
Yeah.
called to be the closest that we can possibly be.
That's it. And
Mhm.
God cares about every detail. And I feel like those are so intimate and real to you. I was sharing with folks on 30 Days of Faith Walking, where you do the rule and reign manual. But I was sharing with them that I literally was going to get on the live calls that we do on Monday. And I was dropping off a friend, but I decided to try that UPS pickup thing too. So I like
Oh,
ordered something from Amazon and it was definitely not what I ordered. So I was like, oh, I'll just have UPS pick it up. Right. But they give
yeah.
you crazy window, like from like 8 a.m. to like 9:30
6 hours.
p.m. And
Yeah.
you're like, so there was like this little window where it's like, I'm going to drop off this friend and I've got like 20 minutes before I'm on this next live call. Right. I'm like, okay. So I'm driving out of the neighborhood to go drop off this friend and I see a UPS driver. I'm like, no. So I'm sitting here. I'm like, Lord, you know that I really don't want to like go to UPS and do the whole drop off. Like that's just not what I would like to do. And I know that you like care about these silly things. So it's like, exactly how long it's going to take me to drop off this friend that needs a ride and like where this UPS driver is and all their stops. So like, whatever you've got to do to divinely orchestrate this, where it's going to be a perfect like track handoff. Like I'm just going to be able to like give him this item because you have to be there. They can't just like pick it off your porch and go take it. I'm like, whatever you've got to do to divinely orchestrate all of these things right now, like go ahead and do that. So it allowed me to be present with this person and not make them feel like they're inconveniencing me.
Yes.
They're going to make me miss my drop off. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, I'm not making it about me. I'm just like, yo, God, like, I know you're awesome at this. So, like, just orchestrate this whole thing.
Here's my need. Here's my need. Can you please fill it so that I can focus on the mission at hand today?
That's it.
100%.
And I'm like, I'm doing this favor, like just do you. So I like go and I like
what was the
drop
outcome?
the person off, and I'm still trusting God. I'm like, yeah, I just know that this UPS driver is like, you know, doing all these things. So I get home, like close the garage. I'm going to like open my front door. He's there. He's on my front porch. I'm like, hello. And I like hand him the item and he just walks away. And then I like go into the room and I sit down for my call. And I'm like, you could have not done that any more perfectly. And it was just a testimony of like how silly and like dumb that could have been to somebody, but like how much like God delighted in that moment. I'm like, you are amazing, and how you just
there's your wink. Yep.
Yes. And those happen all of the time.
All of the time.
All of the time.
God number. I have
all of the time.
I have a specific number. Like there's things that I see all of the time that typically would not catch my attention.
Yes.
But because I'm being still and being mindful and being in the word, they're jumping out at me now. And I've also started pointing it out to my husband, and now he sees them. So it's like, I'm not losing my mind.
And it brings you joy. It brings you this like, oh, God's got me. He's so good. Like you can't take credit for it. And that's one of the things that you've done so well, is just decided like, I'm not even going to try to do this in my own strength anymore. I'm not even going to try to move and think that I've got it figured out. I just know that it's going to, and to your point earlier, I don't have to know how. And that's going to be my greatest gift. Like, I don't have to know how. God isn't asking me for that. He's just saying, trust me. He's not like asking for all of your questions. He's asking for your trust. And so now that's where you start. You're not even like, oh my God. Like, you're literally just in this place. Like, you have those moments, right? But you're in this place of like, but God's got me, but he's going to work this out. And I can ask him to, and I can work the word, and I can see him show up. Totally different life experience.
There have been very hard decisions that I have had to make over the last 4 months, 3 months.
Yes.
Altering decisions.
Yeah.
And I am able to make them not with lightness, but with confidence that God has it. And I still feel the emotions attached to the decisions. I still feel all of the other things, maybe not as much anxiety, because I kind of just gave all my anxiety to him, but definitely it's better. Just the biggest issue that I have on a daily basis is making sure that my thoughts are my thoughts. Hold on.
Yeah, you're like, brain.
Apparently that was a really hard thought.
My thoughts are not my thoughts.
I need to make sure my thoughts are my thoughts. No, but the voices that I'm listening to, the things that I'm choosing to obey, I need to make sure they're him and not me. And that's kind of where every day and I fall short. I pick me sometimes. I still do. You know, there was 2 things that I was supposed to stop doing when I emailed you, and I'm still working on this. But I mean, I'm perfectly okay with being imperfect in him, is what it all boils down to.
And in process, right? Like you're not trying to arrive, or the beauty of what you just shared is that you're not beating yourself up for not having this outcome. Like you just know that you're working for it every day, and you have something to aim at.
Yes.
Which is a very different aim. It's a very different target. It's a very different purpose than what you were running after before. Like you are running your race, and you can say that wholeheartedly and unapologetically. But that race isn't perfect. But every day you have a focus of excellence, or you have a focus on stewarding well what you're given, or you have a focus on being the hands and feet of God, or you have the focus on experiencing God and being in relationship with God every day. And these were not things that were real to you a few months ago. Like, can we talk about how epic that is?
Well, when we say a few months ago, it really is a gut punch
Yeah.
because it feels like 3 years. Like, I
Yeah.
feel like you've been a part of my life for 3 years now.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so to hear that it's only been 4 months is a huge thing because a lot can change in a short period of time when you do it his way.
Come on.
And it feels like it's been a long time for me because I've been doing a lot of the legwork. I've been doing a lot of the reading of the podcast. I mean, just doing all of this stuff because I wanted to see the results. I knew that I had to, it's kind of like going to any therapist. If
Yeah.
you are not honest and open with yourself first and with God, then you're not going to have any change.
True.
You have to be honest with those two people first and foremost, and then the change will happen.
Yeah. Well, I just want to honor you and celebrate you. I am so inspired and moved by your courage and you choosing your authenticity when it was so easy not to, and you choosing to go the way of love and grow and mature in love, not just for you, but for everyone that you're connected to, and you choosing to pioneer paths that you've never seen before and keep showing up, especially when thoughts, when emotions, when circumstances are giving you another way, right?
Yeah.
Choosing this blind faith, as you say, and this path of just knowing that God has you when that wasn't one that you saw. You didn't see this legacy of relationship and faith with God. You didn't see or know any of this. And I think it is so
Mhm.
beautiful to watch you evolve into this version of you that he always had in mind, right? Like you were literally
Absolutely.
walking this path of doing impossible things with him, right? And being this creation that he formed, shaped, and anointed you to be, and getting more and more acclimated to that and familiar with that every single day. And it is such an honor to be on this journey with you and
Oh,
to
thank you.
watch you flourish. Like you are truly flourishing in every area of your life. And it is just so wonderful to see. So I just want to hold that up for you.
I don't feel flourished. I feel kind of, you know me. Oh,
We know
but
you don't always have to feel it to be doing it, right?
exactly.
Success doesn't always feel successful.
I hear from so many people now how my presence brings peace. How
Yeah.
uh, I'm a different person now, and it's. I mean, I've always been extra. I've been told I'm extra my entire life. Girl, you extra. Yes, I know, very well aware.
Yeah.
But I love that about myself. I love that about myself.
Now
Um,
you could be super extra because you put some supernatural on it.
exactly. Sprinkle a little super, and then I'm super extra.
Yeah.
But I mean, I know he made me that way for a reason.
Yep.
And I've had people stifle that throughout the years. And now I can feel my extra coming back. I can feel my glow coming. I can feel, what do they call it these days? The glow up. The
Yep.
glow up's real, but it's internal. It's, you
Yeah.
feel like you're radiating because you're doing what he calls you to do. You're just doing what he says.
Yeah.
It's peaceful.
Yeah. And you're doing the
When
work.
one of my biggest things, I think, on our first coaching call is I was looking for peace.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And
One of
your
the biggest things.
goal, one of them was to be authentic and to not pretend or not to wear masks or not try to be all these roles, but to actually be who you are and the truest version of that. And man, are you in it now?
Dude, I totally forgot about that. I
Yeah.
forgot about the masks and everything.
Yeah. Like it
Mhm.
was an emotional time, right? Like you were really
Yeah,
not wanting to sit and like, oh man, like what do you do when you realize that you're not being authentic? What do you do when you
it's
recognize
a
that
gross
you don't really
feeling.
know who you are and who you're becoming? Like, what do you do when you know that you're not showing up for those you love in loving ways? Like, what on earth do you do from that? And most people stop there and don't even admit it, for the record, right? So not only were you willing, and this is the courageous part, right? Not only were you willing to sit in there and be like, I don't like who I'm being and who I'm becoming, or this
100%.
life that I'm in, it does not fit me anymore. And I have
Mhm.
no idea what to do about it, but I'm going to show up for these things that God is telling me to do and just trust that it's going to work out.
Yeah. Just, I mean, we say it all the time, but blind faith, it quite literally is like taking a blind step, like just closing your eyes and saying, okay, we're doing it your way. And it's just one day at a time, one step at a time, one moment at a time. I mean, those words are repeated in my head constantly when I'm feeling struggle over whatever it is in that moment that God wants me to do. If there's anything that I feel like is a challenge that I'm not cut out for, or I'm not equipped to handle this, it is just one day, one moment, one step. Take it and keep going.
It's faith walking, right? And it's
yes.
Faith is what you can't see with your physical eye. It's what you can't sense with your physical senses. It's what you can't know in logic or your own reasoning, right? But it is something that is very real. You see it from a different place. It's like God is already showing you the vision of where your family is. He's showing you who you are and how he's designed you. He's showing you where you're going, and then you get to choose to partner with him to make that a reality on earth as it is in heaven.
Exactly.
Now, not everybody rises to that call and walks that out, and then not everybody sees the fruit of that. But you are already seeing the fruit of it. And I think it's like that funny example, and you've heard this on the podcast before, where I'm like, I just equate it to getting on the moving walk at the airport, where you're like, all of a sudden you just get like accelerated into this path because you said yes and committed to it that you didn't know was possible for you. And it's in a very short period of time. Like God does in months what takes years.
I got the, the Monopoly, the game, the card. Just go straight to go, like collect your $200. Like that's what it felt like, was the moment that I said, okay, let's do it your way. It has been a wild ride of a lot of internal work, but I'm doing it his way and it's fast tracked. I don't have to go through months. I mean, I do, but months and months of counseling to get healing for stuff when I work with him in partnership with him. Whenever he is the one that is my counselor, then everything is just healing comes in divine ways. I mean, that's truly what it is. Divine healing.
Like healing, deliverance, forgiveness, revelation, breakthroughs, and all of these things.
All of it.
Like one day you might not feel really successful, but that was the biggest breakthrough that you've had in years of your life. You know what I mean? But it doesn't feel like it, but it was. Like something broke, and it always moves in the spirit before it does in the natural, right? And it's like then you see the fruit and you're like, holy cow.
Yes.
Holy Moses, right? It's like
so y'all stay tuned. I can't imagine what the next one.
I mean, for real though. I'm so excited. Like you are just getting started for sure. So
well, he's just getting started with me. We'll put it that way.
That's true.
He's just getting started.
Well, how else can people connect with you? So we got Friday Fire in Courage Co. So come connect with her every Friday, or join us in the Mastermind. You have an opportunity all this month to get plugged in. We officially start the next round July 10th, so you can get plugged in there. How else?
Yes. My Instagram, Getting My Shift Together. And that's the number 2 in there, because I'm always a shift show.
Love it. The shift show over here.
The shift show. Transitioning from a shit show to a shift show.
That's happening.
Oh, with God. I'm done with this. Taking my hands out of it.
Yeah. The best way.
Yeah, Instagram. I mean, really message me through the Courage Code. There is ways to chat people in there. I will admit I am new at remembering to check it. So it's a new social media platform. I got rid of all social media, so it's weird.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't get rid of all social media, but limited it.
This is an app, so we're off social media.
Yeah, it is. It's an app. It's one, and the community there is awesome. If you're not plugged into just the app and Courage Co, do it. If nothing more than just for the content. I mean, we say that word a lot, but you can't put a price on it. And there is no price. It's sign up for free. So just go.
Free content. No, really. Every week.
Yeah. There's free content. There's no price to put on it because it's free.
Like, what in the world? Doesn't happen anywhere.
Why are you waiting? Just do it.
There's your sign if you needed one today.
Me yelling at you.
So funny. Oh my gosh,
Always.
so good. Well, thank you for being so generous with your story, with your heart, with your journey. I appreciate you being here and sharing with us.
A part of his plan for me was I was told I was going to be an open book. So
You
here I
did
am.
that.
Uh-huh. Open book. Open book. Yes, ma'am. But thank you for having me on here and, having faith in me.
That ain't stopping anytime soon.
Oh, I know. You're the best cheerleader there is. I assure anyone of that. She is, you want her in your corner. Absolutely. Mhm.
Thank you, friend.
You're welcome.